Hi Felicia, hi Felicia.
Mom,
Yes.
we have to record a podcast ad.
And what ad is that?
We're going to promote the podcast so we get more listeners. If somebody said to you, what's Hi Felicia about? What is it about?
Bull-
Our media diets.
Crapola.
For some reason, people really respect and honor our opinions because we watch it all. Did you finish Netflix yet?
Did I?
Check out the podcast. It's a mother-daughter relationship that's one for the books. So, Hi Felicia with Marnie and Felicia, anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Hi Felicia, bye Felicia.
My guest this week is Marni Blake Ellis. She is an Emmy-nominated producer with experience at TLC, Bravo, MTV, VH1, PBS, HBO, and other networks. She's worked on numerous reality shows and documentaries, along with overseeing over 500 hours of digital programming as a VP of production at Space Station. Her work on the sports program series 1440 New York Liberty earned Marni her first Emmy nomination. She's had 2 documentaries appear at the Tribeca Film Festival, Chasing Amy, which she oversaw at Space Station, and One Nation Under Dog, which she produced at HBO. Additional credits include The Rachel Zoe Project, Autopsy, and with Dr. Michael Baden, Long Island Medium, Cat House, Rattled, Personal Space, and Throwback Bravo. Currently, Marni produces Spotlight on, a podcast for the venture capital firm Accel, and hosts her own special podcast with her mother titled Hi Felicia with Marnie and Felicia. Marni, who started her career as an MTV intern, is a University of Michigan graduate, a member of the Producers Guild of America, and a mother to Lennon and her dog, Bowie. In this episode this week, we hear Marni's adventure from deciding that she was going to be an MTV intern to this incredible Emmy-nominated career working with some incredible people and having definitely a rock star style repertoire of experiences. Marni is just every bit of the wonder and joy that you love about reality TV, and just embracing all of the chaos and the wonder that you get from going down those reality TV rabbit holes. One of the things that I really loved about this episode was hearing about her relationship with her mom and how that morphed into this podcast with the two of them. I've listened to it. It is hilarious. Her mother is a total riot, and I hope that after this episode, you'll check out one of hers because it is awesome. So without further ado, here's Marni. Hello and welcome to the And Both podcast. Here we are going to hear from moms and those in motherhood that are doing the thing that works for them. They are honoring themselves alongside the all-encompassing role and level of expectation that is motherhood. And we are going to hear from as many different people as possible in their own experience. So you can find people to relate to. You can hear stories that will make you laugh, make you cry, all of the above, and that we will come together as a community to support one another in a way that is holistic and honoring of the woman and the mother as a whole. Hello and welcome to another episode of the And Both podcast. Today I am here with Marni Ellis. Welcome.
Hi. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Oh, I am always thrilled. I feel like this, when I have people come on, so many people I've never met before, and they come on and, you get this little snippet paragraph about them. And I'm like, oh, that's fascinating. And then they come on and I'm like, whoa, we get to spend 45 minutes together. This is fabulous.
I mean, right away, I hope you don't mind if I interrupt you. I just have to say, did I sleep well last night? No. Was I thinking about this? Yes. And was I thinking about how on earth you have 4 children and do what you do? Yes. I am amazed by anybody that has more than 2 children.
Well,
as a working mother.
Yeah. I mean, also, full disclosure, I come into this office on 2 wheels when I do recordings on Tuesday mornings because I have a drop off that is a 50-50 chance that it's going to go well, or there's a paint scraper involved for my child to separate from me to attend a school that he loves to with a teacher that he loves. So, I'm not sure if I'm killing it or that's the part that you're seeing.
Yeah. Well, my son last night was like, I don't feel good. Check my temperature. And I was like, oh, no, you don't have a fever. You do not have a fever. And you are going to school tomorrow. Like, that's where my mind went. I was like, just thinking about today. Like, I need the day, you know?
I got a thing. It's my thing.
Yeah. It's always that.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's like, I feel like when you are looking forward to something, this is like why people don't tell their kids they're taking them to Disney, right? It's like they're looking forward to something and all of a sudden you're like almost there and someone's nose starts running or someone's like, hey, this kid in my class like left school early today. And you're like, oh no.
Yep.
No. So,
and my son is super intuitive, very smart for his age. And he could tell me every person's name, their social security number, what ailments they have. Like, he knows everything. So every day he'll come home like, this kid went home because of this. This person got punched. He picked his nose. He bit this person. He's got the flu. He's got diarrhea. Like, I've heard it all.
And you're like, maybe I don't want to hear it all, because then you walk around with like, you know, like the paper bag to your face. Like, Jesus, let's hope this works.
But like, I've learned is me. Like, this is all my fault. Because I am like a gossip. Like, I have to know everything. I have to know everything about everybody. I'm like Mrs. Curious. So it's all me. I can't blame him.
You know, whatever. You gotta fly your own flag. And there's no wrong flag. That's what we're talking about here. There is no wrong flag. Just whatever it is. I don't care if it's embroidered or bedazzled or just black.
Mine's black.
Just black. Oh my gosh. So tell everybody what you want them to know about you.
Oh my God. Wow. So I am, as we know, I'm a mom. I'm a working mom. I'm a producer. I'm a lover of all things entertainment, pop culture, and people. I do love talking to people. It's one thing I know I'm very good at. I'm very good at interviewing people, making people cry. Mm-hmm. If I'm interviewing them, that's always been what I've been known for. I have an interesting story. I love to share this when people ask me how I got into production. This is kind of a way to inspire the youth. But back when I was in college, you know, in 2000, to show my age, I had such a love for television growing up and entertainment. I always knew I wanted to be in television and the movies and all of that. And I remember my mother saying to me, we don't have any connections. Like, I can't get you, you know, just that first foot in the door. I don't think I'm going to be able to help you with that. And I was obsessed at the time. This is like the height of TRL on MTV. And I would watch it all the time. I was really into it. So I took the name off of like a credit and I typed out a letter and I put it in what we call the mail. You know, this is with
the stamps you had to lick yourself?
Yeah. And I was like, I'll do anything. I'll pick up the phone. I'll get you coffee. I just want to help. And that person, that woman, that producer who worked at TRL handed my letter to the internship coordinator at MTV. And I got a phone call. I was at the University of Michigan and it was like, can you come in for an interview? I flew home for a day. Never forget it. My dad took me into Manhattan. I mean, I'm from New York, but I was in college. And that was my first foot in the door. I got the internship on the spot. And I tell people this all the time because it just shows you, like, you know, you want something, you got to do something about it. You can't wait for it to come to you. And sometimes I think how I miss my younger self. Like, I felt like I was really hungry then. And I wasn't as, like, now I'm a little bit jaded and a little bit like, oh, people have, you know, ruined me, or I don't have a soul anymore because I've done the whole LA thing, the New York thing. Like, I was just so young and naive, and like, I would say hi to anybody. I would go up to anybody, shake anybody's hand. So that was my first foot in the door. And from that point forward, it really allowed me to meet a ton of people. I was interning. I was not even 21 yet. I was working on the Video Music Awards and going on spring breaks with MTV and Super Bowls. And at one point I was doing so well, I was like, maybe I shouldn't go back to college. Like, maybe I should just stay at MTV. And my mom was like, are you out of your mind? Like, MTV will always be there. And yeah, and then when
but not TRL.
Right, not TRL. And when I graduated Michigan, I got another job. I was right back at MTV. And as I was a freelancer. You know, it was like, you meet one person, you get in, you know, and into another gig, from one gig to the other gig. And from MTV, then I was at VH1, and then somebody left VH1 and went to HBO. And it was just like, I just kind of went project by project. I wasn't like, I want to work at HBO one day. I just kind of was like, let me see where this takes me. Let me just go. At that point didn't realize I was like at the cusp of like the height of reality television and all these big moments in media and unscripted. And I got in at that time, and I just took that route and I went on that journey, and it was great. And my 20s and 30s were like, just production wise, it was really a wild ride. Like this is another like thing that people love to talk to me about. But when I worked at HBO, I did late night programming. Now there's no late night programming anymore at HBO because YouPorn took it over. But I worked on a show called The Cat House. It was about a brothel, not in Vegas. Everyone thought it was Vegas. It's not legal in Vegas. It's in Carson City, Nevada. And when I was like between 24 and like 27, was going back and forth to this brothel to do this documentary about prostitutes. And my parents may have not been happy, but I was like, it's HBO, it's home box office. Like it's highbrow, you know? And it was so wild. Like it was, and I never judged anybody. I just loved meeting people, finding out why they did things. And that kind of brought me into the world of like documentaries. And through the years and media changing, I then, you know, it just like, I just really went with it. I ended up in reality television, and then I ended up doing a lot of digital content and branding content and live. And I just feel like I've done a lot. It's been a lot. And through that, I guess I got married and had a kid. I lived in LA. I always wanted to try living in California, and I lived in LA, and LA wasn't for me. It's not for everybody. I missed New York. I didn't love working in television out there. I felt like everybody worked in TV in LA. And in New York, I just felt a little more special. But I did meet a man, which is wild. So I got a man out of it. And then he moved to New York when I wasn't happy there. And now we have a child, which has been quite an amazing ride, how we met. Like I hit on him at the Roxy. He was in a band and I hit on him. It's a really funny story.
I love this.
Yeah. And now we have an 8-year-old boy who's just awesome. And I will say, like, when I gave birth, I was a freelancer. So I didn't get maternity leave. I was like, I'm going to be out for 8 weeks, and then I got to get back. And one of the hardest parts for me at that point was I was working on a reality show called Rattled about pregnant women having babies. So I left my baby to be with new mothers, and I was watching like women give birth. And I went through I was really depressed. I was like, the guilt, everything, just, it rocked me. Like, and I kept thinking, he's so young, like he's not going to remember this. And of course he didn't remember it. Like I ask him all the time, do you remember when mommy left you at 4 months? He's like,
actually, yes.
Yeah. But it definitely, it hit me hard. Like leaving him so young to be on the road and to be in hospitals and watch people give birth. And I was constantly comparing and missing my son. And so I think I had to take a big, the big question is realizing and weighing out the benefits of travel when you're like a new mom. And it really impacted me. And I had to, really kind of slow down on that. And I did slow down on it. And it was a good decision. And as he got older, I did still travel. And luckily, very fortunate to have a partner who loves being Mr. Mom if I'm away. Like he always felt like it was a challenge to him. Like if I went away, he's like, I'm going to get rid of that binky. Like he will not have it when you get home. Or like I went to Atlanta for 2 weeks to film a reality show. And he's like, I'm going to potty train him. You just watch. And he did. Like anytime I went away, he made some big milestone move. And I was like, thanks. So thank you. But I will say, it's really hard. So many people have said to me, are you going to have another? Are you going to have another? It was the pandemic that did it for me. It was definitely having a 3-year-old at home. And that's when I realized, like, I don't think I should do this again. I know myself. And I think that's what's really important for women, to know who they are, how they react to situations. I stress easily. I don't love chaos. I like chaos. I like filming chaos. I like creating chaos.
Like watching
But
chaos.
not in my own home. And it was like a really hard, it was like a hard decision to make confidently, to say, I'm only going to have one child and be okay with this. Side note, like big curveball I'm going to throw at you, which is a big part of who I am. When I was 23, I pulled an all-nighter at VH1 in the edit. And the next day I could see, but my eyesight was like really blurry. And I thought I was just tired because I pulled an all-nighter and the eyesight didn't get better. And long story short, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and I had MS, and I had to learn really quick what caused my flare-ups, and my flare-ups were caused by stress. My doctor, I remember when I got diagnosed, was like, was there a death in the family? Did your parents get divorced? All this stuff. I was like, no, I just pulled an all-nighter at VH1. And I didn't realize, like, for me, stress is a big factor in my health. And when I was diagnosed at 23, I was in denial and I didn't take care of myself at all because I was like, I'm so young. No one could tell me I can't go out and party.
Through this.
Yeah, and I did. And I had to make some changes over the years. But as now I'm 43, I think just as a mom, I had to realize stress is a key factor. Kids stress me out. And I had to really like admit that and say, it's okay. I think I'm going to have one kid. And my son wanted a sibling real bad during that pandemic. So we got him a dog. We got the dog. And the dog is right behind me. Do you see him?
I can see the dog.
He's so sweet. He loves me so much. And as he got older, like, he would say, all right, I see my neighbors, they're fighting with their siblings. I get it. And like, he's getting it now. I think he fully understands. But sometimes he'll be like, can't you just have another baby? And I'm like, if only he knew like how hard it was to have him.
Yeah.
Like, that was another thing. I had to do fertility, like all of it. Like, but oh my God. So yeah, wow. I just like really summed up my life.
I love it though. Cause I think that, in all of that, like, I think a lot of times when people give you the question of like, hey, who are you and what are you about? I'm not talking to like a 3-year-old, right? Like a 3-year-old's like, I'm about cartoons and goldfish. It's like you go on this long winding journey, which seems like a winding journey, but it's not really. Like in your 20s, you have that flexibility to say yes to so many things. And it's when you say yes to the things that you shouldn't have said yes to, where you're like, oh, learning moment there. But also that specific time, because I will be 41 in February. So that specific time there was so much like aura around reality TV and around like getting a chance to see people's lives because it was before social media.
Yep.
Because we didn't have like, you don't have this like, computer in your pocket that's like telling you, for people to like tell you their business. Like, I miss the good old days of Instagram when it was everyone's like what they ate for dinner. Like just that to me.
Just the food photos.
Just the food. Like can we just go back to that? Like, I don't want to buy your shake or your like pants or your anything like that. Like, I don't want that. I just want to see what you made for dinner because I can't think of one more meal idea, yada, yada. Right. But it's this idea of like, it was such a cool time because we didn't have access to that 24/7. Like, I can't understand watching reality TV now because like we have reality phone and reality this, and it's just like, I would like to step away from it.
Yeah. The landscape has really changed. And I watch, I started a podcast because I watch so much content. I watch so much television, and a lot of the reality storylines are spilled. The tea is given. We already know that someone's cheated on this person or someone's getting divorced because it's on Instagram. It's on the TikTok. Yeah. And then we watch it on Bravo and we're like, oh, we know that's about to happen. There's a fine line in how to tell the story now that we know everything.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it's that voyeurism gone wrong.
yeah,
When has voyeurism gone right? But like, how are we supposed to get back to a space where like you are like wide-eyed and oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm backstage at MTV and I can't believe that. It's like you can't do that anymore because there's somebody backstage at MTV
right.
filming what it's like to be an intern at MTV. So it's like these like pockets of magic that bring people into the industry and allow them to learn and grow and thrive and like get a chance to see behind the scenes where there is so much magic. That's essentially for sale on someone's social media feed now.
I know it makes me really sad now that you're saying this out loud. Because when I look back, it really was such, like you said, it was such a magical time. I don't have videos. I don't barely have any photos.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was in the audience at the VMAs after 9/11, and my job was to like hype up everybody and to get everybody really excited. And like, wow, like that was so amazing. I have no photos from it, nothing. And I mean, my fear is, I keep saying, thank God I wasn't in high school during social media. Like, I would have been destroyed. Like, I just keep thinking about, you have 4 kids. How many of these kids are girls?
I have 2 girls and 2 boys, and my oldest is just started middle school. So we're navigating. I mean, it's like how do you have communication and like the ability for her to like reach out and ask for help and the ability to keep track and like the freedom and all of that layered in with, she's got friends who have newer iPhones than I do.
Did you read The Anxious Generation?
I haven't. I haven't read it yet.
You know about it,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I did the audiobook. I highly recommend it. A lot of my mom friends are like, I'm too scared. You have to listen to it. I mean, it really makes me not want to give my son a phone come middle school. We're like, he just get an iWatch, and if he needs to contact us, he contacts us. We could track him that way.
Yeah.
The YouTube of it all, like my son, and I appreciate this. Like a lot of kids will only now watch YouTube. I made a rule in my house, which is hard because I'm a TV lover of all things. That's all I talk about is television and movies. We have a rule. So there's no iPad during the week. There are no video games during the week, and there's no YouTube during the week.
Yeah.
He is allowed to watch television. I'm talking, let's go back old school. We are binging Malcolm in the Middle at night. We're watching Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and it's so refreshing. And a lot of people be like, oh, my kid can't sit there for that long because I've trained my son. Mm-hmm. I have trained him. I took my son to the theater. I think he was 3 years old. Like, I was never scared to take, I got him in real young, and I really wanted him to be able to sit through something and not have that quick, like, attention span. I mean, and you know what I can't stand though? Come weekend, when he's not in the activity, like, he's watching YouTube all day. And I'll have to say, like, no more YouTube. No more YouTube. Mm-hmm. It's insane.
Mm-hmm. No, it is. We're fighting a battle that is just like someone else keeps changing all of the pieces and all of the rules. And it's like, I mean, there's a lot of stuff too, like, different language and things that sort of comes up over time, right? Like there's that teenage separation from parents kind of that has to happen. Like your friends become your driving factor in decision making, good, bad, or otherwise. Yep. And like, so there has to be a way for kids to start to sort of cluster together so that they can begin to separate. And I can understand where that comes from. But that argument to me doesn't hold water when you consider the damage that social media and this like really pervasive, horrendous messaging that gets put out towards teens. And it's that, like, when you hide behind that umbrella of like, kids want to be more independent and kids want to go out and they want to rebel and all that stuff. I'm like, that's great. I get it. When I rebelled, it was like driving a car too fast down by the beach. It wasn't putting pictures on the internet of other people doing stupid stuff or yourself doing stupid stuff.
Right. And that book covers, let them be independent by like letting them walk to the bus in the morning. Yeah. Let them walk home. So that's what we are now like kind of branching out and letting him do. We're letting him have that independence. So he feels like, okay, he's 8. So like, let's give him that power. But oh my God, if you could hold off, I mean, they say like wait till 8th, like that there's like that saying, that movement, wait till 8, like wait till 8th grade till they get the phones.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that maybe through the next few years, it will change to, instead of the iPhone, it'll become like, let's go back to the flip phone. Like, I'm thinking there might be a movement coming where the phones change for these kids because of all these regulations and all these issues and all this awfulness that is happening.
Yeah, the Gab products, if Gab wants to sponsor the show, that wouldn't suck either. But where they have the parent controls what is available on the watch. So like my son can't put in someone else's phone number. I have to enter it. So I control the contacts, and there's no internet connection, no social media.
I've never heard of this. Gab?
Yeah, Gab. And they've just started putting out phones. So it's like a regular Samsung phone, but it can't connect to the internet. It can't, it won't allow any social media. And it really, gives them more flexibility, because the thing that I think that sometimes gets forgotten. So the watches, everything's happening on speakerphone. And so my thing is like, do my kids want to have an entire speakerphone discussion with me in front of their group of friends?
Right. That's fair. I just I don't see my son having a real big conversation with me on the phone.
Like, we're not going to get deep on the playground.
Right. He's
but
like,
it's that,
either pick me up but I see what you're saying. Like, if you want a secret code for I'm not having a good time, come and get me.
Yeah. So it's like, I wanted her to be able to write like, something out, because the Gap ones that come, it's sort of like a pre-programmed, like I'm on my way home or whatever. And this way, like she and I can text each other, or she can text her friends, but she and I can text each other and say like, hey, I'd like to go here and do this, yada, yada. And I can ask her more details without it being that like, when you and I were younger and your parents, like you're on the phone and one parent picks up the phone and they're like, hey, you need to get off the phone. And you're like, oh, Mom. That like, I'm trying to avoid that in the right. modern world for her. But yeah, it's a tricky situation.
It really is. And and I hope times will change with all of this changing. It's wild. And because of this, the landscape changing so much, my job has changed. Like television is not doing well right now. Reality TV, all the mergers, all the layoffs, like that's impacted me tremendously. I've leaned into producing and stage managing events. I've leaned into podcasts and video podcasts for venture capital firms. And I'm going to San Francisco a lot. And that's been awesome. And it's been amazing. But I'm definitely slower than I've been in a very long time. Yeah.
But your skill set, like this is the piece, right? It's like the figure out ability of you is like, I want to do this. I'm going to figure out how to do this. And then all of a sudden, like, I think sometimes where people would say like, oh, all of these things are closing down, I've got to jump ship. You're like able to look at this and go, okay, I still want to be involved in this. How is this changing, and which way is the water flowing so that I can like point my boat in that direction to still be a part of what is happening right now?
Correct. And it's funny you say that, because I'm in a lot of women groups in production and reality television, and so many women I'm seeing are saying, I want to get out of the industry. I'm working in a restaurant now, or people have shifted to marketing, but I've really like mustered my way to stay in, but like you said, and I appreciate you saying that, shift a little. And I'm really trying to like stay there and put my foot down and say, let me open this door and really get in. I was really bummed and down about a year ago because I was so slow. I'm sure a lot of women listening will feel this way. Any working mom, anybody that's a mom or not a mom, if I'm not working, I feel real bad about myself. I get sad. I get down. I like to sleep a lot. I call it maybe a little depression. I just love to work. And I said to my mom, everyone's asking us to start a podcast, because me and my mom always talk about what we watch, and everyone always asks her what she watches. And I was doing a lot of Instagram stories during the pandemic and asking her like, what have you watched? Did you finish Netflix yet? And everyone's like, you guys should start a podcast. So last January, I said, it's time. I'm really down. I need to keep my mind going. I need a creative outlet. And she was like, if it'll make you happy, I'll do it. And we started a podcast. So it's been fun. It's been work. I know you do it, but it's another layer of getting my 73-year-old mom over to record a podcast once a week.
Wait, are you originally from New York?
Yeah.
So is your mom from New York?
Yeah, where we live on Long Island. She lives about a half hour from me.
Okay, that's epic. You could talk about wallpaper and I would be like, I will watch this. Two women from Long Island sharing thoughts and opinions. I literally, you could talk about.
Oh, wait for it. Two Jewish women. So we're really unfiltered. My mom will say anything. She's like, she'll drop some bomb and we'll be like, she just said that. We'll have to bleep her. Like she doesn't care. Why does she have to care? She could get canceled. So, and her name is Felicia. So instead of Bye Felicia, the podcast is called Hi Felicia with Marnie and Felicia. And people are loving it. And I'll give her, she says homework. I'll be like, you should watch this. And she'll be like, I don't want to watch it. I just want to watch my Korean dramas. But she's really funny. But what I thought was a podcast about what we watch, what we consume, has turned into a podcast from the listeners are telling me this. And the reviews say it's about our relationship. Mm-hmm. And it's been really nice to hear the feedback, which is women say, I lost my mom. And oh my God, this is reminding me of what it was like. Or, oh my God, you guys are so close. I wish I was that close to my mom. And it's become really nice. And it's become a nice memory box, I would call it, for us now. But it's work getting her here. I feel bad. She's like, I'm tired. I'm like, come on, Fel. Come on down. We can do it. It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. And it's what I love. I love pop culture. I love media. I love talking about television. I'm always the person that people say, what should I watch? What should I watch? Mm-hmm. I consume way too much. I now, like, everyone says, like, how do you have the time? Like, if I drop my son off at an activity and I'm sitting in the car, I'm watching a show. Like, I'm on a plane. Like, I'm constantly watching, download the Netflix show so you don't have any problem watching it wherever you go. That's my tip right there. Mm-hmm. In a car, at Costco, wherever you got to do it.
At Costco. Oh my gosh. How many ladies are sitting in the parking lot at Costco eating like a sandwich, watching the show that they can't watch when their kids are like, 4 years old, because it's like women throwing tables at each other.
I will say, I maybe this is not good. I don't hide a lot from my son. Like, he'll say, like, Mommy, you watching Grey's Anatomy? I'll be like, I'm watching a little Grey's. You want to watch it with me? You want to see a little Love is Blind on Netflix? Like, I don't hide content from him. Like, my mom always, one of our most famous stories is in 1988, she took me to see, I was like 6 or 7, and she says, we're going to go see Dirty Dancing. And if you open your mouth, we're leaving. I sat in that theater like this, like jaw dropped the entire time, didn't say a word. Did I understand it? No. But did I love it? Yes. And that's kind of how I've been with my son. My husband doesn't agree all the time. Like, did I show him Deadpool? Yes. Were there 116 F-bombs? Yes. I am trying to show
use it in context now?
No,
yes.
No, like, right. I am trying to show my son the things that I know he'll learn elsewhere. He'll learn it at camp. He'll learn it at school. Let him get it from his mommy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, too, because then you can also share the context around it. Right?
I'll say, like, you can't see this at school, you know? Yeah.
Right. So, like, this stays in the living room with your iPad because we're not doing this.
Right. Yeah. And he loves it. And I don't know why. I guess I'm just like pawning myself onto him.
Well, I mean, you need a recruit.
Yeah, I do. I need somebody to watch all this stuff with. So I'll be like, let's watch this. So yeah, it's been a fun journey.
You know what I love about your show with your mom is that, you know, being now you have kids, or you have a child, and we have kids, and it's like, if my kids came home at 20 or 19 and were like, this is what I'm gonna do with my life. Like, you think when you're a teenager that, like, when your kids come home and they tell you that they're going to like do whatever, you're going to be like, absolutely, I support you, blah, blah, blah. Right. And then, you know, you have kids and you start to think like, oh God, like it costs how much to go to the grocery store? And you're telling me that you want to like be like a yarn artist? Like, I'm going to do the math for you. I'm going to freak out a little bit and like, let's talk about this. But what I love about your show is like, whether or not your mom watches TV or like regularly, right? Like she might have it on or stuff like that. Like she knows that's something that has driven you for decades now. And so for her to be like, you know, probably not so reluctantly, but a little bit reluctantly, like, I don't want to watch this. And you're like, come on, mom. She's like, all right, this is like my kid's the TV kid and the video kid. So,
but she'll say it's her fault too. Like she raised me on television. She always says she never said you can't watch this. I was watching Beverly Hills 90210. I was in 3rd and 4th grade. Like she never said you can't see something. So she instilled this love. It's not that she's watching her own stuff. That's why she doesn't want to take the homework. Then I'm saying you got to watch this true crime doc. Everyone's going to be talking about the Menendez brothers. She's like, I don't like true crime. I don't want to watch it. Fine. She can have her own opinion. But so a lot of it's the back and forth of like what she likes, what she doesn't like. And a lot of the fun is when we both find something that we both like. We're like, oh my God, this is finally a network show we could both watch and enjoy. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's been great. It's been fun. Yeah. I hope we get some more listeners through this because we've have the retention, constant, like people listening every single week, like over 100. I don't know what your podcast gets every week. I don't know what numbers are considered good anymore because I know podcasts are starting to take a little bit of a downturn, but I'm just trying to figure out how to grow and how to get more listeners, how to get more ears and eyes on us. That's really my goal.
Yeah. I think too, like the premise of the show being like two people hanging out and talking is really a throwback to what we miss about life before everything became reality TV.
Right. Yeah.
It's that like there's a woman on Instagram, she and her mom reminds me of my grandmother who passed long ago, but like just in how she talks. I think that the mom's name is Barb, and she always like gets in the car and she's got something going on. Like she's just sort of like, I've had it, you know, whatever. And it's like this, and her daughter just sort of like eggs her on a little bit. And she's like, are you kidding? And all this stuff. I'm like,
oh yeah, I know where to egg my mom on. I'll piss her off and she'll get mad at me and we go back and forth. That's what a good producer does.
But every time I watch
this, the pot.
Yeah, exactly. Big spoon. I watch this and I think about my grandmother, and I think about like she says stuff that like were like phrases that she said. And I'm always like, man, I miss that lady. Cause like there's no video. Like, oh my God, you couldn't record anything that this woman was saying because it like not made for TV half of the time. And you just like, you know, you have that filter of like, it's my grandmother. Like she just tells you how it is. And she's like 5 feet tall and this teeny tiny lady who's running some guy down with a cart in Costco. And you're like, oh my God, grandma, we gotta like, we're in public. Like these are humans that live in, and she's like, I don't care. But it's that like, I love that like that wholesomeness of what a real relationship looks like on all the different layers of it.
Yeah, it's been a journey. I feel bad sometimes when I'm like, I know she's tired, and I'll be like, you know, it's hard. I can't really. So I'll say to her like, do you want to zoom in? And she knows that it's better if we record with the real microphone, with the headphones. Like we have a little mock studio in our house, and she'll just know that it's going to come out better that way. So she'll be like, I don't know how to use Zoom. I can't figure that out. So, and if she's away or like she went to Greece with like her friends over the summer, I'll have guest co-hosts, people that are worked in production with me. It's also like a little bit of an insight into how reality TV shows get made and the crews, and it's really funny. It's been a blast. It's been fun, and I just have to remember that it makes people happy. I mean, you have to. I'm sure you get feedback from listeners that say, "Oh my God, like I love listening to this. I love hearing from other women." And I think that's what keeps you keep going, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's that idea of like, I mean, for me, the idea behind the show was like, we only get served the extreme ends of the spectrum, right? Like we only get served like the woman in the homemade apron who's like making bread with like 47 children, or we get the woman that is like, that everyone has determined is a hot mess. They don't take the time to like have a conversation or understand the layers or whatever, but everything is taken on face value as like good, good or bad. And that's it. That's all. And I'm like, everybody else lives somewhere in between there. Like sometimes I've really got my stuff together and sometimes I don't. And this idea of like attaching whether or not you're doing a good job or not a good job based on that is so problematic.
I'll still ask you, how do you do it? How do you do it with 4 children? I mean, I'm really amazed. Kudos to you because
thank you.
One kid is stressful enough.
Yeah.
And my kid is a good kid. So sometimes I'll whisper in his ear, like, if you had a sibling right now, you wouldn't get this,
We're in the moment.
Right?
Don't wreck it.
Like, it's amazing that I'm assuming, like, for me, it takes a village. It takes a village. You need a partner. You need a grandma. You need people to help you. I have neighbors. Like, I'm very fortunate. I live on a block where there's a ton of kids. Our doors are open. They're running around. They're playing on the street. It's like the 1950s. It's literally like, I need an egg. Can I come over and get an egg? Like, that's how our block is run. I'm working. I'm traveling. I need help. Can you get him off the bus? Like, can you get my dog? Like, after this, I'm going to go get someone's dog. Like, that's so my question for you is, do you have that village? I'm assuming you have a village.
Not really.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. But, the thing about it is, like, I have, I think I've told this story before, but I was standing on the playground at the end of the school year last year, and it was an event at school. And so, like, all of my kids were there, and my youngest is 4, my oldest is 11. And everyone's there and they're running around on the playground and they're like speaking, there's teachers speaking on the little podium thing or whatever. And I was there with another friend, all these parents in the school. And she was like, how do you like, she has 2 kids and she was like, how do you know where your kids are? And like, how do you know that like they're okay or whatever? And I was like, if I stopped to think about how stressed I am, like I would literally just lay down on the ground and not get up. I was like, my brain is just bobbing in cortisol. And that's not to say like, ooh, I'm so tough. It's just like, I'm totally outnumbered. And
oh my God, you're outnumbered.
Yeah, I'm out.
By the way, that's your village. Your 11-year-old better be taking care of that 4-year-old.
my 11-year-old is like off with her friends. She's like getting ready to go to middle school. She's like, peace, bye. I graduated. Thank you. But yeah, no, I think it's that all, there, like when you have people like running in and out of the house and you have kids and stuff like that, that's just like, it was like the pandemic when people were saying like, oh, do you want to be in a pod? And I was like, well, what is a pod? And they were like 4. And I was like, I have a pod.
Right.
So like, that's just part of the deal. And like, I have different like circumstances in terms of like help and things like that. And I think that's another reason why I really wanted that to be something that's spoken about on the podcast, because I don't have a lot of outside help, but it doesn't mean that like, it's like bad. It just is what it is. And so like adapting how it works. Yeah.
Unbelievable. You got to make the kids help out. Don't you think?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wait, so you had a baby in 2020?
I had a baby in 2020. I had a baby March 10th of 2020. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I went home from the hospital. I will never forget this. Clearly, we were getting checked out of the hospital. The pediatrician comes in and he like checks the baby and says like, okay, like, ta-da, you can take this one now. And you're like, great. Still no clue what I'm doing here. This is number 4. And he said, I the TV is on because I'm sitting in a room. I have 3 other children that I'm normally taking care of, but I am here with this like 7-pound piece of Jell-O that just like doesn't do anything. And so I had to stop moving. And he came in and he was like, I don't know like if you've been watching this on the news or not, but like there like something is going on and something is going to happen and they're probably going to shut things down and all of this stuff. And he had some connection with like the infectious disease part of the hospital. in terms of like getting information in. And I was like, well, what does all this mean? And he said, if I was you, I'd go home and I would lock your doors and I would not let anybody in the house until we figure this all out. And I was like, cool. Like, I was like, this is my last baby. I've kept 3 alive. I'm going to just like, it's fine, right? We'll just like roll another one through the conveyor belt system that is, and all that. Nah.
You kind of got lucky that you didn't have to give birth during the height when you couldn't allow, your partner in, or when you had to mask up to go in there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I really am totally in that like #blessed kind of moment there to think like, I went into the hospital. My husband came with me. My kids came into the hospital to meet their brother.
That's wild that they came in.
They came in. We were just about to leave and I was like, no, I want to take a picture of all of us in the hospital together because this is the last baby, not knowing that like that would be the last picture of us outside of the house for like a very long time. And it's that like, had I known kind of thing. It's crazy. It's totally crazy.
Doesn't it feel like for me, it feels like a long time ago. Does it feel like a long time ago for you?
Yeah, it feels like in the beginning, it felt like the whole world was just on maternity leave with me. And I was like, this is great. Like, you're baking bread. I'm sitting here, like, whatever. And then it was like, oh, by the way, your kids have to learn. And, then it's like, you got to get all of the school stuff going and all of those pieces. And, there are a lot of parts of it that I do actually miss about the pandemic. And then there's a lot of stuff that I'm like, God, I don't know how we got from point A to point B, because
sometimes if I'm working from home now and my son's here, my husband's here, I'll have like a flashback. I have like a little PTSD. I really had a hard time. Really had a hard time. He was 3 and there was like fake Zooms. It was like, hop on the Zoom. He's in preschool. And it was just the idea of like keeping him busy. But I was, I guess, lucky enough. There was a down point in April where production was dead because we didn't know what was happening. And then all of a sudden production was like, all right, we're going to make this work. So we're going to do shows over Zoom. Like, I was doing a lot of branded content over Zoom. And then all of a sudden it was like, we're going to do live program over Zoom. Like, we're going to do stuff for Bon Appetit and for the New Yorker magazine. I became so busy. It was like, there was no difference between like work hours and home hours. I mean, that was for everybody. I was working nonstop. So sometimes I get these flashbacks if I'm really busy now to that time. And it really like hits me. Like, I really struggled. I don't know if there's any part where I'm like, I miss this. I really had a hard time being home all the time with everybody.
Yeah.
I thrive in social situations. When it was time to go back to the office, I ran. Like, I couldn't get to the office quick enough. I think there's a nice balance now, like I will say. So now I started my own production company. I became an LLC, and I am now working from home for myself. And when I travel. But there is something nice. Like, now, again, I'm off the bus. I read with him every night. I oversee his homework. I think I was just really struggling because he was so young. Now I'm at this like prime age where like he's just an awesome person and I want to hang out with him all the time. But there's a fine balance now. I don't think, I hate to say this, I don't think people should have to go to the office 5 days a week. I think there should be a balance, especially for moms. I just think 3 days a week, 4 days a week. I love going in, but it's also really nice to be able to work from home on a Friday.
Yeah. I think the hard part, really about the pandemic is like, there was no choice, right? So like, when everything, it's sort of like there is no turn, there is no relief, there is no nothing, versus these are the things that I want to do. And these are the things that I enjoy about my role in motherhood. And then I also have everything else that has to happen outside of that. Like, that's where I feel like that's where it really got to be a lot. Like, I do miss certain parts about the pandemic because my kids were home and I got a chance to see them. And when there is 4 of them, sometimes it feels like it's really hard to get like one-on-one time, or it's really hard to get to sort of like keep contact with everybody to the level that I was able to when they were like in the playroom or upstairs, or, you know, all of them sitting around having lunch together every day. But I had a really hard time. I mean, this podcast came out of not being able to see content on TV that reflected in any way, shape, or form how I felt and what I was going through. The messaging that's out there being like, you know, being grateful and being a good mom and being a good everything is related to all of the things that you are doing for other people, and not hearing stories from other women who are like, love being a mom, love working. This is the bag of crap that seems to, like, someone seems to have dropped on my lap that I'm supposed to carry around and deal with, that has nothing to do with those two things. And I don't want to deal with that anymore. And so it was that feeling of like not feeling like there was a community of that, because everything that you're consuming is like, you know, you're making sourdough or like you're screaming into the wind.
It's hard. One of my favorite things you said, it was on a previous podcast. You said every one of us is a CEO, like of our own household, right? My husband says many times, I thought you'd appreciate this. He'll say to me, I'm not your PA, which is a production assistant. I'm not your PA. Because I run this ship. You know what I mean? I produce this family. I set that schedule. I set the deadlines. I set the sleep time, the meal time, the reading time, the shower time. And he's like, so I'll say, do this, da, 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 da. And he's like, you got to stop. I'm not your assistant. So I respected that. All of us have to run it.
Here's the clipboard. Have fun.
He's like, why do you think this is like a business? He'll say, like, it's all business. Yeah, I am sometimes all business. Mm-hmm. Right? Aren't we all? Tell me I'm not crazy, right? I'll be like, no. All of us are like this. All of the moms.
Yeah. Well, and too, like, if you're not, that's when anarchy happens. Right? That's when anarchy of like life. And, you know, how are you supposed to schedule all these things together? How are you supposed to make like one meet the other? And you've got all these overlapping things. So like I love that episode because it's this idea of like, whether or not you want to or not, you are developing these skills. So like this idea of like, you know, I'm just, or I just stay home, or I just do this. I'm like, the only difference between you and the person sitting at the big, long, ugly table in the big, tall building is they're wearing uncomfortable clothes. Mm-hmm. It's the same skill set. And it's the same thing. Like no one when something goes wrong at the bank, they're not looking at like the person in the mailroom. They're looking at the person who sits at the head of the table.
Right.
When everything goes sideways in your life and someone doesn't like show up to a practice on time, or someone forgot this, that, or the other thing, they're not calling like the babysitter to tell them. They're calling the mom. So whether you want to or not, your face is out on the billboard. So like, you know,
I love it.
As long as that's the view that society has of what you're supposed to be doing and how you're supposed to just sort of like be the person holding up the sticks that keep everyone else afloat and put person here and person there and all of that, I'm happy to give that away.
Add producer to the title, because like everyone, yes, we're CEOs, but we're also producers. Everyone's producing their family. Like we're literally setting the schedules. We're production managers. We're line producers. We're making the budgets. It's all the things.
It is all the things. And it's so flippin' much. But you have to be grateful the whole time. Mm-hmm.
So grateful.
So grateful. So grateful all the time. But that check, that CEO check just didn't drop into your, can you imagine? Can you imagine if we had
you'd be so rich. You'd be like Elon Musk billionaire, you know?
Doesn't he have like 27 children?
He does. So he's obviously the richest. You know what I mean?
No, he's obviously. Oh my God. That is scary. There's some scary stuff going on in the world.
I know. That's why we got to just stay in our bubble. You make your fam and oh man, it's wild. Yeah.
Well, that's why people are into reality TV, because reality is too hard.
Right. So it's an escape. It's an escape. So a lot of people are like, I can't watch reality television. I find it's entertaining. Sometimes I'll be watching a scripted show and I'll be like, I just want to throw on Housewives, and I'll throw on Housewives. It's my escape. It makes me feel better, and I love it. I love the drama. I love the chaos. If it's not in my home, then I'll take it.
Yeah. I watch one of my like sort of fallbacks is like any of the like Marvel movie series, right?
Okay.
Like all of that stuff, right? And my husband's like, "Why are you watching this?" I'm like, 0% of this could happen in the real world. 0%.
Right, like a true crime doc, you're a little nervous. Like oh my God, I watched last night this documentary called Sweet Bobby on Netflix. It's like the most craziest catfish scheme ever. And it is scary. You're like, this could have been me. Like, that's the problem with the docs, because it hits too hard. So you're watching superheroes knowing this is never going to happen.
Right. Like, I know you can't fly in life. I know that Robert Downey Jr. cannot fly. I know that, like, you cannot make thunder from a random, like, metal hammer of some other planet material. I know. But what I am doing is I am thinking about how ridiculous this is. I am not thinking about the fact that I have to do this for work and this for work and this for work. And, I can't forget this and all of that stuff. I am thinking, how many gems are we going to fit into this metal glove thing so that the world can just go back to normal or like be sad or whatever?
I respect that. It's funny. I've never heard somebody say like, I just watched the Marvel movies for that reason.
Yeah.
That hits. Yeah. I respect it.
Gotta have a break from reality.
Yeah. I turned to true crime, and it's scary. Because sometimes like I just had this moment where I felt like I was in a true crime doc, and I was like, this could be my true crime doc.
Right? Like, this person is following me in the parking lot. I know how this ends.
This girl, I shouldn't even be talking about this. This girl I went to high school with, who I'm not friends with, found me on Facebook, messaged me, and was like, you put me on a TV show. By the way, false. I never put her on a TV show. I'm reporting you to jail. You have 24 hours. Like, she was in a drug bender, and it scared the living shit out of me. And I was like, she called me 13 times on Messenger, and I was like, this is how true crime docs start.
Yeah.
So I took all the screenshots. This was like 2 days ago. I took all the screenshots, and my husband's like, we might have to go to the police. And I think her drug bender ended because then she stopped hitting me up after 2:47 p.m. on Sunday. But one more time you hit me up, I'm going to the police, and the true crime doc starts. I'm just saying it. But it scared me. She's like, you have 24 hours. Yeah. You're going to jail. She's like, you're embezzling money. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Like, again, that's someone who needs a Marvel movie in their life. They don't need another bag of whatever they got. They need a Marvel movie.
She said I put her on a show as a minor, but I was like, oh, when you were a minor, I was a minor. So I wasn't, this is impossible. This is impossible. How is that possible?
One of us is in our right mind right now, and it's not you.
Mike, and this is another reason why we have to watch our children on social media and the internet. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a whole thing. Oh my gosh. Well, how is the podcast? Like, when did you launch?
We launched in January. We are about we're about to record, I think, our 41st or 42nd episode this week. 42nd.
You are killing it.
Yeah, we have not missed a week. I have not missed 1 week. If my mom is not available, I slide somebody right in. My husband's done an episode. Producers do eps. All my gay besties have done eps. Like, I get people who, if I know people, and once. Well,
because you can't batch it either, because it's got to be fresh, because the stuff
that's
is fresh.
What I was going to ask you. You batch, right?
I end up having to batch a little bit because of the 4 children. And
well, I'm assuming, this is why mine is a little more challenging, because it is so timely. And it's also so timely where I feel like if I don't watch the biggest show that just came out or the finale, I'm now like, oh my God, I have to watch this because I got to talk about it on the pod. And my mom gets mad at me because she'll call me and she'll be like, she'll say something to me. I'll be like, save it for the pod. I don't want to hear about it. Save it for the pod. Because I am very into real, organic, like, let's make this as genuine as possible.
Mm-hmm.
because I come from reality television. I don't want it to be scripted and fake.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you do as a producer on reality TV. It's like if somebody tells me like I just had a fight with my sister, I'll be like, save it for the cameras. Save it for the cameras. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's really timely. Like to the point where like we record something and like the next day we hear about some celebrity that died. I'll be like, God damn it, we just recorded. Now we can't talk about it.
Couldn't you have either
Yeah.
sped it up or waited a few days?
Like minutes. So yeah, we are really not evergreen. But yeah, we're about to do the 42nd episode. So Hi Felicia with Marnie and Felicia everywhere you listen to podcasts.
Yes. I love it. I just love the everything.
On Instagram, I'm at Marnie Jagger. So I'm open. I post a lot of trailers and fun TV moments and what I'm watching. I post a media diet every Sunday or Monday of what I'm watching. Like, what are my weeklies? What are my binges? What are my docs? What are my miscellaneous? What movies? What concerts? What Broadway shows? I don't know how I have the time.
That is the level of organization to know where you're going and who you're going to see and all of that. I am impressed.
Thank you.
Yes, that's amazing. Well, I could sit here forever, and like I appreciate so much of you sharing your time because all of that is time consuming. So thank you for joining me today.
I gotta go watch something. No, I'm just kidding.
Click, we're done. I gotta go. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm going to put up all the links in the show notes for where people can find you. And I have some episodes of Hi Felicia to catch up on because that is my jam.
And I will say a lot of people who listen, they'll say like, I don't watch all these shows, but it doesn't matter because we just talk about it. We're so ridiculous and funny. Also, a lot of my mom's friends or people above the age of 60, 70 love it, but don't know how to get podcasts. So you got to show the grandmas and the moms how to get podcasts, how they can listen to it in the car. You know, you have to show them. They don't know how to do it.
Mm-hmm. I will tell you that when I was in college and when the first iPhone came out, this was my okay, I went to the Apple store and I was like, all right, I don't really understand this whole phone computer thing or whatever. And there was a woman next to me who was, no joke, 70 at minimum 70. And she was buzzing around on this phone. And I literally looked at her and I looked at the phone and I was like, if she can figure out how this thing goes, I'll take one because it cannot be. Because anyone that has ever helped anybody over the age of 50, over the phone or in person with a piece of technology is we should just be done now. We should just all walk away.
Your 3-year-old could teach, your 4-year-old could teach now the grandmas.
Oh,
it's crazy.
No, it's unbelievable. They're just the technology, the tech native people are, it's unreal.
I feel bad for the older people, the boomers, because they don't know how to pay bills online or they weren't raised this. It's really the amount of times my mom calls me and is like, I lost HBO. Can you get the login for me? I need help. It's constant. It's a constant. She needs help all the time with technology. How do I get my boarding pass on my phone? I don't know how to do it. So it's a lot of that.
Your mom might be my new spirit animal. I love it. Oh, I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And I cannot wait. I hope that your listenership grows by 100,000 because the whole idea of the show is genius and magic.
Thank you so much. By the way, you are a superhero. You're Wonder Momming. You're a Wonder Woman.
I'm doing something. I put my feet on the floor and get dressed and just like everybody else.
You're doing it.
I used to say at the end of my newsletter, you're doing a great friggin' job. So you're doing a great friggin' job.
Love it.